we're waiting also for someone who's going to be a presenter to come on. We had a great event this morning at the Minnesota Historical Society, Fort Snelling, Minnesota Historical Society site, which was, I think it was a great start to kick off Drive the Great River Road Month. There are a few of you there are on the call. So thanks, Historical Society, for hosting us and for the effort to, take on the Drive the Great River Road Month this year. So greatly appreciated. What do you think, Andrew? We have a quorum, so let me get a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes. And although I was hoping to make a change to the agenda of moving John Hunter up to first rather than or next, but he is not on the call yet. Is he a testifier?
He'll be coming.
Oh, he's gonna be here in person.
He's almost here.
Okay. So why don't we just go around the room and just quickly introduce people? I'll call people online first. Amanda.
Hi, Amanda Dernberger, DNR Technical Advisor. Happy to be here.
Lisa.
Good afternoon, Lisa Havelka, Industry Relations Rep for Explore Minnesota, the State Office of Tourism.
Great. Paul.
Good afternoon. I'm Paul Huguenin. I represent the Minnesota Department of Agriculture.
Kate.
Hi, folks. Kate Carlson, Visit Winona. I'm also a commissioner from the Hastings to Iowa border.
Awesome. Grant.
Good afternoon, everyone. Grant Wilson, Minnesota DNR Regional Director and DNR's rep.
And I have someone who is identified as testifier on.
That's when John comes in.
Oh, that'll be John when he comes in. Okay, in the room, so is Sally.
Bonjour, Sally Finday. Do I need to do this?
Yeah. What do we need to do?
Where is that?
Oh, no, it's on. It's on.
Oh, it's on.
Yep.
Yeah, you mute yourself.
Okay. Well, bonjour, Sally Finday, Commissioner from the Headwaters to Grand Rapids.
Hi, David Keller, Minnesota.
Carl Samp, Regional Commissioner, Brainerd, Elk River.
And if you can see their two shirts, you see they coordinated this morning with each other.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ann Lewis, Commissioner at Large.
And John Amundson, Metro Region Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Andrew George, I'm staff for the LCC.
Carol Zoff, Minnesota Department of Transportation. Jessica Cartwright, Minnesota Department of Transportation.
Megan Volke, staff with LCC.
Diane Henry Weinstein, staff with the LCC.
And you want to introduce Michelle?
Lisa Thurston.
Or Lisa, I'm sorry.
Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition with the American Heart Association.
Lisa, so are you testifying or is John?
John.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you know how close he is or?
Any minute, you just text me parked.
Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, what else? So let me get a motion to approve the agenda with a modification of moving John Hunter up with the Clean Cities.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we do not have Senator Housley. I see. I know she said she was out door knocking, so we may not have her. Do you know, Andrew, where we're going to have her for the meeting?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe on.
Okay. Are there, we'll just go ahead.
We can do it however you want to chair it, but we can move, this will be shorter. We can move that. Potentially that could go.
Commission business?
We can do it however you want to chair it though.
You want to do minutes first, John?
We did that. We did minutes and
agenda.
And agenda together.
Okay.
Approve those.
David could maybe do the Great River Road, well, how we did the kickoff.
Yeah, David, you want to just give us a little update on the kickoff that we just had?
Sure, yeah. As you guys all know, there's a theme every year for the Drive the Great River Road Month, ag, go outdoor, get outdoors, go, etc. So this year's theme, we decided a while ago would be history related. So in conjunction with the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And by happy coincidence, our colleagues at the Historical Society have been doing a campaign all summer long for America 250, Minnesota 250 road trips. And we asked our colleague, Jacob Rohr, who had done a series of 10 road trips around Minnesota, to do a bonus 11th road trip for the Great River Road. So Jacob came up with, and I can give you guys a demo later on. There's an app called Goose Chase that you can use for this itinerary, and the new bonus Great River Road, Drive the Great River Road month journey has 30 stops from the headwaters to the Iowa border. And it's a nice diverse group of history related stops. And it's also, because we gamify things these days, if that's even a word.
It is.
People like to play online games and compete. You get points for each stop that you make or activity that you make. And there are super fans who collect points and go onto the leaderboard. So that was rolled out today at the event this morning. It's all live and online. So that was kind of the feature of the kickoff event. In years past, we've done the kickoff event at the state fair, and we thought we would try something new. And either you love the state fair or dislike the state fair, but there's a lot of commotion and things at the state fair. So worked out that we had media from CARE and KSTP covering the event, and my colleague Allison Ortiz is going to send out a follow-up news release this afternoon for anyone who wasn't able to be there to make them aware of this. So I think it was a success in terms of having media there, and we'll continue to do social media to get the word out about this. And thanks everyone, Anne, for giving us the nudge, and John for being one of the great speakers, and Andrew for keeping us organized and on task. And I think we're off on a great kickoff for Drive River Road Month, September 2026.
Could I make a motion? I'd like to move that we thank the Minnesota Historical Society for partnering with us this year. I know that Andrew has a letter kind of prepared, and we would like to, that we acknowledge the great partnership that makes Drive the Great River Road Month this year particularly special. So I'm not sure how you want to word that resolution, Andrew, but I would resolve that we send a letter of appreciation and gratitude to the Minnesota Historical Society for their partnership this year with Drive the Great River Road Month.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, and great suggestion. Again, thanks, Kent, the director, and the whole team that helped
Yes.
us. That was awesome.
And I have some swag here, key chains and cards to remind you of the road trip, and the QR code for the road trip. So
Fantastic. So I believe John Hunter is here from Clean Cities. Are you ready, John? Are you ready to
Very good.
go?
Very prompt with your agenda.
We moved you up.
Oh.
Is he out there?
Be able to control
Hmm?
this one.
Oh.
And then.
This is a card for Suzanne Dee Barnett, who's our national office person. Her mother passed away, so we're just gonna get her a card. John, whenever you're ready, just introduce yourself and what you're up to, and then I'm anxious to hear the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you for having us. So I'm John Hunter. I am with the American Lung Association, also the Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition. So we're here to talk about a project that we have working along the Great River Road and tell you more about it. So thank you for the opportunity to be part of this. I want to start first a little bit with what is kind of the clean cities world and sort of the basis for who we're working with and how this came to be, and then talk a little bit about what lies ahead with the project for that. And I have with me my coworker, Lisa Thurston, who is the director for Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition and staff with me at the Lung Association. So I'm going to keep referring to the Clean Cities coalitions and clean cities and all of that kind of stuff pretty regularly. So for background with that, the Clean Cities and Communities program is a partnership with the U.S. Department of Energy and 80 or so independently run coalitions around the country. So we have been officially designated in Minnesota for 25 years now as a Clean Cities Coalition. And I've been happy to be part of that partnership from 25 years ago, I guess, early on. So I do also want to point out too that, the name of the Clean Cities and Communities program, I think hides a little bit the fact that really involves working with all the entities that you might consider being part of a clean transportation system. So fuel providers, auto manufacturers, businesses, fleets, retail stations, wide variety of entities that we consider stakeholders or partners, or people we'd want to engage with throughout the whole ecosystem, I guess, of transportation in this world, which includes several of the Minnesota state agencies and as well as local governments and others. So the overall kind of principles behind the Clean Cities world are to be collaborative, transformative, knowledgeable, and credible. Staff provide a wide variety of kind of services. We do technical expertise and kind of hands-on sort of trying to create custom support depending on a particular project or local need for whatever transportation project that we're helping participate with. That can include evaluating like clean vehicle technologies that might fit certain fleet needs, helping fuel retailers kind of navigate systems and putting in new offerings, working with regulators, a lot of partnership building and just kind of connecting two people who might have similar interests, or if somebody needs to know a vendor or anything like that, it's a lot of relationship building. And then there is also, we have pretty good track records of being successful in helping with collaborative funding opportunities and trying to build either one-time projects or ongoing kind of activities with partners. And that's a little bit about what we'll be talking about here. Do you want to take questions throughout? Do you want me to just go? I can dive through and
Yeah, just keep it. I think just keep going through.
I could pause there for consider questions. But and before I dive into the project, I will mention too. I obviously introduced myself as partly with the American Lung Association as well. So I just want to take a moment to explain that connection. So American Lung Association is the what we call the host organization for the Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition. We also staff the North Dakota Clean Cities Coalition. Coalitions around the country are sort of run through a bunch of different types of entities. Some are standalone nonprofits, some are housed inside state governments, others are cities, and others are associated with universities and other things. So every coalition is a little bit unique. In our case, we are part of the American Lung Association. That partnership really kind of came about with the fact that in Minnesota, vehicle emissions are the #1 sort of largest category of air pollution historically for the state. So there was kind of a natural pairing between the Lung Association desire for protecting lung health through reducing emissions and the Clean Cities world of really promoting kind of voluntary opportunities for vehicles to help reduce emissions. So it's been a nice natural pairing and a good fit for kind of accomplishing dual missions over the way. On this slide are myself and Lisa here. Our coworker Heather manages the North Dakota Clean Cities Coalition. And then we have other additional support from Emma, just joined our team. And then Isabel's an intern with Argonne National Lab, who's been working with us this summer as part of Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition. A lot of our Lung Association kind of work over the years and our Clean Cities work has been under the kind of the branding of Clean Air Choice. So you'll see a reference at the end to the cleanairchoice.org website. And again, kind of reinforcing those sort of voluntary efforts people can kind of make to reduce emissions. Okay. So about what I'm actually here to talk about is the Great River Corridor Collaboration. This was a project developed in response to a funding opportunity available to Clean Cities and Community Coalitions In this case, we use the Great River Road and the Mississippi River as kind of an organizing entity around trying to build additional collaboration with our colleagues further down the river. So it's a project that's funded by the U.S. Department of Energy. We serve as the lead of that, which I guess is kind of appropriate as the headwater state, I suppose. And so we have funded relationships with all of the Clean City coalitions that are along the river corridor. And there is additional funding for community partners as well. This was deliberately kind of set up to help build relationships both between states and help kind of foster additional communications of all the different Clean Cities coalitions along the river, but also ensure that, or try to help build relationships with community organizations that are working along the river as, for different parts of the project, and ensure that they had funding to be able to participate. And we weren't hopefully being too, or not wanting to put kind of a burden on communities we were asking to be involved with events or with other kind of support for identifying some of the needs that we'll get into here momentarily. So this is the big summary slide. That was a lot of build up to get to this one slide here of what we're actually doing. But it really is about kind of having a coordinated approach and recognizing that a lot of times alternative fuel development can occur very, very piecemeal. You know, it might be in one fuel station, one community. And when that happens, it makes it harder to do any kind of long distance travel. So I imagine you all can imagine what the Great River Road would be like if there were no bridges, like for example, up and down, you know, and just like those kind of gaps or barriers in infrastructure that would prevent anybody from doing kind of longer bits of travel. So we wanted to do a coordinated approach and really kind of identify, in this case, what kind of gaps existed in alternative fuels along the way. So what would prevent somebody from really doing a long distance road trip with an alternative fuel vehicle or an electric vehicle. Wanted to ensure we then had a kind of a coordinated approach for filling in those gaps and kind of a big plan put together with all our colleagues on what it would really take to ensure people could enjoy the full River Road Byway using the fuel of their choice. Let me see, just make sure. So yeah, it's really about, wanting to kind of connect fleets, connect other partners, fuel retailers, popular destinations along the way. And I'll have a slide here in just a moment, kind of looking a little bit more about like what a gap would look like in that case. As we were identifying gaps, we also want to be able to work with community partners to kind of help find solutions, I guess, for where there are areas that need addressing. So working with community members to help our community partners to identify potential like station owners or locations where we might want to put charging equipment, help kind of, again, bring more people to the area, as well as doing events and outreach activities and really kind of promoting both the corridor as well as the ability to use these fuels along the route. And I deliberately continue to keep talking about the scenic byways. The primary focus, I will add, we also can do on activities on the river, like with river traffic. And if there are opportunities to do what kind of counts in the DOE world as off-road type activities, that also fits as well. But a lot of the Clean Cities work historically has been kind of on-road focused. And so that's tends to be where our bias kind of goes. So again, working with communities to do outreach and education activities, as well as then we can sort of engage all of those other kinds of things that Clean Cities coalitions are really good at, like funding opportunities, providing technical assistance, and really working people through processes to kind of help advance, I think, everybody's kind of shared interests in this case. So yeah, just to kind of sum this all up, really, it's really about kind of assessing where fuel is limited, doing the outreach and engagement events, other tactics to kind of help build awareness and identify potential host sites for new things, and then being able to kind of support future development through supporting funding opportunities, helping people navigate kind of different systems and approaches, as well as just helping build a lot of relationships. So this is kind of a quick look for an example of when we're talking about like fueling corridors and things like that. This is kind of taking an approach done by the National Federal Highway Administration where they do designate alternative fuel corridors in some places. In Minnesota's case, we have designated alternative fuel corridors along the interstates for the most part. And they designate them depending on fuel availability and kind of gaps between stations. So in our case, Minnesota, I think is primarily designated around electric vehicle infrastructure along the interstates. There's some seeing compressed natural gas available on certain portions of certain interstates, things like that. But that national program has kind of standards for wanting to see like charging infrastructure every 50 miles to consider it kind of compliant and available for EV drivers. Or with some of the other alternative fuels, it could be 100 or 150 miles, depending on kind of fuel tanks and average type vehicle equipment. So we've taken that sort of same approach to say, like, what does it look like with the river road for all the different fuels? And we're going through an assessment now to identify, what would kind of meet that criteria along there and what wouldn't. I appreciate this is a very busy map, and you can hopefully at least get the takeaway that Minnesota is really pretty advanced in a lot of alternative fuel infrastructure around the nation. And we have a lot going on, but that's not to say it is everywhere and available to everyone at this point. So in this case, the red line is signifying the Great River Road, but looking at how frequent EV electric vehicle charging infrastructure is along there. And by and large, there's access to the DC fast charging world pretty well, except for a couple of gaps right now that we'd want to fill in to kind of really meet that every 50-mile type criteria. So in this case, it's up in that area around Aiken, in that kind of space is one gap, as well as up around Leech Lake. But otherwise, the charging corridor would kind of be considered complete. And we see similar kind of gaps as we start to look at natural gas infrastructure or propane, some other alternative fuels that are part of that recognized system. So in this case, we're going state by state, really looking at where the gaps are. You'll probably have a good appreciation that the Great River Road actually even has a few gaps here and there. And most of the state of Missouri, for example, I was surprised to find is not designated. So we're working through some ways of figuring out kind of our own substitutes for what that looks like to have a good full 10-state spread. And then as we identify gaps, we'll be kind of looking for alternatives. So in a case like this, comparing this map to the upcoming Minnesota Department of Transportation, it's going to have a funding opportunity for electric vehicle infrastructure opening either next week or sometime early next month. So it'll be open for a couple months, but a couple of their priority locations, one is in like the same Leech Lake gap. So it might be a good opportunity to try to engage stakeholders there to see if, if they want to continue developing some of their local EV infrastructure to fill in that gap. Aiken's a little bit harder, admittedly. That's a kind of a fairly rural area. But McGregor is not terribly far off the river road there and aligns with the MnDOT priority map for where they would like to see infrastructure. So it's really trying to kind of piece those opportunities together and seeing, as we know, there are people are interested along the river in certain types of fuels or certain infrastructure, what kind of ways we can partner them up with opportunities as they come along, or help try to create opportunities, or brainstorm with other utilities, stakeholders, things like that kind of activity. So that was the fast version of who we are, what we do. I hope that was helpful, or at least a good basis for the kind of thing. I think there's a lot of good potential opportunity for really helping promote the river road and the byway. Would love to see more opportunities if there can, aligned with, drawing people to the interpretive centers, or identifying if, like last year, Lisa was actually down in Winona at an immediate event that happened to be at the interpretive center there. And, they had expressed potential interest in having a place people can plug in when they're there. So I think there's a lot of good partnerships. We're excited to talk more about this project and be a resource however we can be.
Thanks. Thanks, John. Anybody have questions? Carol, I'm kind of looking at you because I heard MnDOT mentioned a few times.
That was mentioned a few times, yeah. No, thank you very much to both of you for coming and presenting. We're definitely, as an agency, looking at ways to lower the carbon footprint, and electric vehicles are one of those priority areas. We can't purchase the vehicles for people, but helping to knit together a charging network so that people can get from place to place. You know, we use, I think that, you know, you maybe got this from the EPA website, that then we use that hot link on Plan Your Trip so that people can find places for alternative fuels and charging stations. So we have that on Plan Your Trip as a hot link, because the EPA, it's changing all the time, right? So we'll let them keep it up. It's a very rich site. But the gap analysis is something that we haven't done for a byway that I'm aware of. So I think that this is an interesting partnership. And one other thought that when we talked to John the first time was, would the interpretive centers be a marketable place to receive these and talk about assistance? Each is unique. But we, Jessica and I just were driving the Great River Road and stopped at 6 so far. And we mentioned this opportunity, and some had one, or all of them though were interested in learning more, if they can expand that as a resource for people when they visit their sites.
Yeah, and even the one that did have one, it was like, well, would you be interested in more? And they were like, yes, they would be interested in more charging stations. Because I think kind of as we were discussing, it would be a way for people to come, you know, get charged, and while they're charged, they can go inside the interpretive center and spend time there, and also money and, you know, in the community, and help progress things that way too. So, yeah.
So we were not sure if this, I mean, we definitely thought that it was this is a great audience for this potential partnership. You know, Sally, I don't know if you want to say anything about the opportunity to enhance these resources up in Leech Lake.
Yeah, I'm Sally Finding, and I live in the Leech Lake area. I live in north of Castle on the North Shore. One of the things that we have there, we have a charging station at the Cedar Lakes Casino at the junction of 371
And Highway 2. Yep. And what I'd like to say about that is, I personally don't have I've only ridden an EV once when I was rented it as a rental car. Otherwise, I don't know. But I did hear that our fleet manager of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe did express that he was unhappy with his EV cars because they don't start in the wintertime. And so that's kind of like, that would be terrible, but I don't know. What do I know about it? I've only ridden in a rental car in Louisiana. So that's one of the things would be, of course, we all want to have clean air. And I think that, you know, northern Minnesota probably has the best clean air in the state. So I appreciate it. And, you know, when we were talking, I was actually thinking about what would that be like if everybody had an EV, or even, you know, public transportation. You know, we don't have public transportation where I live. So it's like, it's difficult to get around. But I appreciate everything that you're doing, Miigwech. Thank you.
Yep, no, thank you. If you don't mind, just real quick, I mentioned that, so we've been working the last couple of years with Native Sun, if you're familiar with Native Sun, up for electric vehicle project up in Red Lake. And they did deploy a few different vehicles with some of the tribal agencies up there, and doing trips down to, I think some actually come down to Leech Lake for hospital visits, things like that. And they've been very happy with their electric vehicles. So part of what we would like to do with, I guess, Clean Cities is be kind of a resource if people are having problems with EVs, things like that. So if there are ways we can help troubleshoot anything that's going on up there, we'd be more than happy to do it. We've worked with Brandy Toft some in the past, who is, I think, part of the air agency with Leech Lake. And I know in the past they've had very extensive kind of infrastructure development programs. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, but would hope this kind of thing might align with what at one point she had visions, I think, or they had visions for maybe some of the other areas in the community that could benefit from charging and stuff. But I very much appreciate the challenges, I guess, of things. And I think part, not to speak for Minda, but, you know, part of the way they were looking at these kind of gaps and where to prioritize had a lot to do with just the limited availability of some of this infrastructure, particularly in rural areas, and knowing that really can't have an EV world kind of take off without a very reliable sort of set of infrastructure, and people feeling like very confident that they're going to always have access to charging. And so I think that it's part of how that the map is prioritized where they are doing the infrastructure. So the next funding opportunity won't be available in the Twin Cities at all. It'll just be outside the 7 county metro area for that kind of quicker infrastructure development.
Well, that's
So-
very
so-
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy, you have a question.
Yeah, I just had a question because in addition to the interpretive centers that we have, I'm aware of several, and one of them is an interpretive center, state parks that we link to too. And I know Grant is on the call today, but I don't know how much work has been done to locate, and particularly in rural areas. Then the Great River Road is pretty prevalent in a lot of, at least the north-south corridors for rural areas. But the last time I was at Itasca, I don't remember seeing anything there. And Cuyuna, I don't think has anything. And those are, and I don't know about the other state parks, and maybe Grant wants to talk about that. But is there an exploration with state parks to be filling in the gaps?
It's my understanding, I'd love to hear from DNR if I'm wrong on this. At one point, I know there have been various proposals about how the state could prioritize charging infrastructure at state parks as partly as a draw, partly just knowing, people come and park for a while and as they're hiking or camping or doing other things like that. I feel like when I was bouncing around this map, kind of looking at earlier, and Carol, this map is from the Department of Energy's Alternative Fuel Data Center. So this includes all the different fuels, but the sort of hollowed out circles here are charging sites. And I want to say maybe like Crosby State Park and is there a Crosby State Park? I feel like
Cuyuna, which is what I just mentioned.
Oh, okay.
In Crosby, yeah.
Yeah, so I do think there are some state parks that are on this list, but to my knowledge, has not really developed fully across all of the state parks yet as well. I also know they were at some point looking at their own kind of vehicles in use in state parks, and some of the off-road vehicles are lighter duty things and what would work for good electrified opportunities, which admittedly is an aside here. But is all to say that I do know it's been on the mind for a number of state parks, if not the system as a whole.
Okay. Thank you.
John, thank you. I got to move the agenda along a little bit here, but for my sake and others, maybe it'd be good to. I can't, looking at this map, I'm having a hard time look to see where are the gaps exactly. If we know where there's gaps and we can start filling those, we can work on that. And then, and if we fill all the gaps, I mean, I think I heard you say something about a designation. So we could get a designation of the Great River Road corridor through Minnesota make some federal list of corridors to drive. I think that'd be a cool incentive for us to go for it. And as I look at all 10 states of the Great River Road, this is something, we have two committees that I think we should bring this in front of at the national level, which is the Environment, Recreation and Agriculture Committee, ERA Committee. They look at environment in particular, and then the Transportation Committee. And this could be things we could start working on in those committees over the next year. I think they're looking for things to work on, and this fits perfectly with that idea. So, I mean, if you could give us a list of, if you could list like, the top 5 things, what we could do as a Great River Road organization that would help you advance it. Give us that list of things that we should do, and so we can think about what to act on. I think that would really help. And I know I'm working with the National Parks Conservation Association, the National Advocacy Organization for National Parks, has got a real push on regional haze issues. Haze is affecting our views of national parks throughout America. But in my response to the people from the national office on that was, our views of the Mississippi River, our scenic river views, are also being affected by haze. And so we as an organization should care about this haze pollution issue. And if cars are a big piece of that, we could reduce that with EVs. So we have a lot of reasons to be involved and engaged on this issue. So
John, if I just may add, I think transportation and ERA are good ones, but perhaps culture and heritage, so that maybe he could
tie in the
make that
haze
connection
issue
to the interpretive centers directly, because if I'm understanding too, you would work directly with any of the sites that potentially would take advantage of this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you could pick out and say, hey, we really like someone in this area or someone in that area, then we could look and prioritize that.
No, that's exactly what this process is meant to do, is kind of identify where those areas are and any kind of partnerships that we can get to identify who might be good people to talk to in those areas. That's is exactly what we're here for. And then to be a resource for them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of there to this. And so let's keep working together on it. Carol, are you going to be the link to us on this?
You can work directly with
Yeah.
John. I really do. As far as coordinating with committees down at the
Okay.
national meeting, I will not be there.
Okay, my through me.
Yeah,
What you're saying?
that'd be great.
Okay. So I think you have my email.
If I don't know, but I will make sure we do if I don't have it directly. I think we might.
You make sure,
yeah.
Andrew will make sure he's got it.
Yeah.
So,
And a few of us are planning to go down in October to the national meeting.
Oh, you do?
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. We'd like to, we're just, at this point, we're just dropping in as strangers, but
That's
anything we can
awesome.
do to kind of make those comments and a number of partners from the other states are planning to meet us there. So it's meant as a means of trying to help further along these kind of relationships and see who we can meet and.
John, well, I'm on the National Planning Committee for that. I'm actually the chair of the 10th State Commission as well. So,
Nice.
So I can talk to the other members about when we break out into committee meetings down there, getting you into some of the committee meetings for the
That would be.
Great River Road as well.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
No, I appreciate the
Thanks. Lisa. Very good. And who stops sharing? Does John stop sharing or does, and for those of you online, once it goes to this presentation mode, I can see like 3 of you at a time. So if you got your hand up, you're going to have to actually say something. And welcome, Senator Housley. I saw you joined us. Awesome. So I think we can move now next to the kind of one of the meaty part of the discussion here with the MRPC LCC contract and looking at how we move forward and on the issue of kind of replacing what Chris Miller used to do and how we can work most effectively with LCC on that. Andrew, are you going to start this off or?
I can start off, or you can do it like a debrief of the executive committee, and then I can jump in, whatever works for you.
Well, I'll just say quickly that, so the executive committee has been looking at this issue a number of times, but we've come up with trying to come up with a number of different alternatives on how we could fill the gap that we're losing Chris Miller left in terms of really the proactive outreach, the proactive marketing, the proactive engagement with the interpretive centers and CVBs and others. Some things you would think that an executive director of an organization would handle for the most part. And whereas the LCC is more of a management role in a lot of respects with us. So we have a great manager, but we also need something more proactive that the LCC is not in their mission to do. So we come up with a number of alternatives, but I'll just bring it down to the basics. Basically, we said at the executive committee, we probably should try to get back to something like having a Chris Miller, a position, executive director, whatever you want to call it, position. And there was a pretty quick unanimous agreement on that. And so that's kind of where we went to. Andrew and the LCC now have put together kind of he's calling it a request for information. Basically, how would we start framing that? I should also mention, and Senator Hoffman, you can weigh in if you're available. Senator Hoffman suggested that her and Senator Hoffman might be able to, get some extra money for us, get a bump in our budget that could help cover extra costs if that's feasible. So even if we could get that, we're looking at a budget to the next budget of the legislative session, which puts us out of the way. So we have to figure out the rest of the time before that could happen. And then if we can make it happen, what does it look like? And can we do a request for proposal for a person who comes in and fills that gap? Or how else do we handle it? So Andrew, maybe after that, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Just for clarification, we're looking at we lean towards a request for information. This generally just to get an idea on a little bit of quicker timeline this fall to Diane could go into the specifics, but to get something formal out there and get intend to get responses that might estimate some costs, and see if we can cover that, or if the commission can cover that with what it currently has, or if you know, a larger increase to an allotment would need to be required. But so what we have put together based on the executive committee's recommendations is a request for information for, this is more specifically to marketing services, kind of that realm of activities that the LCC would not have, one, the expertise, or two, the really the authority to go down. Our marketing, communication, and that proactive outreach that you mentioned. So there's bullet points that we've come up with that the executive committee has and in the second meeting in June, we kind of highlighted as those main gaps. Again, this is more in marketing and that outreach side of things. I'll clarify now, and Diane can jump in as needed. Yeah, LCC's role in support of the MRPC is really that budget fiscal fiscal budget and the budget side of the commissions, and the administration. I would use the word administration over management.
Okay.
Administration of helping administrate and support quarterly meetings and kind of that more narrow focus. This is more on the marketing and outreach side of things. That's where we're at now. We can go into, we've had a few conversations. We can go more into what's in and out of bounds for work of an entity, the MRPC being that an entity that is administratively housed in the LCC. What kind of work can or should that do in terms of project management? The work that Chris was doing as a quote unquote executive director. So there's a few things that we did. I received some feedback from Ann in terms of larger project management or project coordination that we can chat about. That would be just a little trickier for even a contracted position to be suitable for a contract position, even if that's coming out of from an organization or staff that doesn't work for the legislature. It's just, as a legislative agency, what is appropriate for
So
Yeah.
go ahead, David.
As I was looking through the request for information, one thing that occurred to me that clearly is not part of marketing, but is part of the work overall, is the periodic update of the quarter management plan.
Yeah.
That's a really big job. It's sort of project management, it's shepherding the agencies, and obviously MnDOT has taken a strong role in doing that over the years. But that's maybe a good example of something that's not marketing, that it's a question. Is that something that LCC could help with in the project management area? Or is that yet another thing that we need to, that's apart from everything?
When my immediate reaction, I think just chatting with Diane a few times, that would, regardless, that would be a contracted thing. And I know that we're required to have a corridor management plan, and that for that to be updated on a periodic basis, that the LCC wouldn't have the expertise to do that. That would always be, whenever that happens, if it's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, whatever it is, that would always be some sort of contracted thing. How we're currently structured, that would always be some sort of, you would need a project manager that we don't have the expertise to do that.
So you have to have someone or a group of people with the expertise that resides around this table to manage the contract, to write the RFP and make sure that all is done well.
And to collaborate too. I mean, because obviously someone in that position, assuming that they are having those relationships, that information be vital to informing where we go next in the next corridor management plan. I guess on top of what you're saying, another thing I would add to this, just with some of the wording that you have, is like regular proactive outreach to interpretive centers, conventions and visitor bureaus. Just coming from the private sector, just my past job and working on contracts and proposals, regular is a very vague term, quite frankly. And I think that if you want to get a realistic response, you need to say, we need you to be there once a month. And there may be times that it may require more coordination, or if it's once a week, how many times is social media, like realistically, and state it so that they can then actually give you a budget of what that is. Because I've worked on a lot of planning projects in my past work and stuff, and we would have people, towns or communities, be like, "Oh, we would like to have all these different things," and they're trying to do on what we would refer to as a shoestring budget. And it's like, this is unrealistic based on, for us to do it. And then you have some companies that will look at it and say, "Well, we'd love to do this, but this is not the budget that we can do it on, and this is what this would realistically cost." I think also something that we may just want to be aware of is that there are times where you could collaborate with a company that costs less money, but the quality of their work is very low. And what we would want to have happen may not happen. And there's other ones that might be a little bit more expensive. I'm not saying the most expensive, but a little bit more, so I don't know if there's some way to put qualifications and maybe actually have them present and say, this is how we would work with you. This is how we would do, X, Y, Z. This is how we work with different communities when we have that sort of thing. This is how we go through, and actually present it to you might be a very good way to interview people and make sure that they're meeting what the commission needs, and sees that they need. It's just something to think about. So, yeah.
Jessica, that's exactly the kind of stuff we need to hear. So thank you. And that was, go ahead, Diane.
Yeah, if I could speak a little bit back to David's comment about the corridor management plan. We've only had experience with one, with the LCC. Is fairly extensive, where it was doing pictures and doing events, to get public engagement and and that was just way beyond like what we could do as a group, as a commission itself, and as the LCC, so that one was contracted out with Kimley Horn. It was about, I think the contract was around 560 or something like that, 560,000 ish or so. And that was back in 2015,
was it?
16?
15, was it?
Something like that then too. So I think it's difficult to say it would be or not be something we can manage, because I think it depends on what the aspects of the corridor management plan is. That was a big overhaul of it. If it's a small, subtle thing that maybe can be with groups within the commission itself, kind of strategically planning, what's the strategy, touching base, some of that communications might not need to be an outside group, then might be something that the LCC could do, but it depends, again, what's the ambition or what's the scope of the corridor management plan. So I didn't really answer your question. I kind of give you an iffy, depends on it. So
If I could add, just because how we did that, the 2016 corridor management plan is Chris and I split project management duties. So I was the technical program manager and brought the technology to and then Chris was the administrative and strategic, we were both strategic. So, but then LCC helped manage the funds, and we had multiple deliverables and multiple non-traditional transportation funding matches. And so it was almost $1 million in total. We accomplished a lot, but I think we would anticipate that we'll need to have a consultant group deliver the project. There are certain firms that do this. We're updating 4 corridor management plans for scenic byways in Minnesota right now. But we're working with regional development organizations. But those are very specific. So for ours, it would be very difficult. We had Region 9 helping us with some of the tasks, but in general, we did hire a consulting firm. But I think that this particular position, they should have corridor management, plan management and implementation built into it, because it's two different things. You implement the plan that we have right now, and then eventually we'll seek funding to do a newer plan and redevelop it. But I would write that into their
think that's right.
responsibilities, because it's a lot of work and it was so much travel, which unfortunately you're not able to do. But there's just a lot of, it's 45 cities, 22 counties, 5 MnDOT districts alone, every DNR region, lots of your sites at MHS. So it's just a lot of relationship that, like I say, unfortunately, Andrew, you just don't have the bandwidth for it. That we need to hire someone that has it though, because we don't have that bandwidth either.
No.
I don't know what role, and we don't know who amongst the agencies that are, leading this commission who will take the lead.
So I want to tag on to what you're saying, because not only, and you're the one that taught me this, the CMP is a living document and it needs to be monitored. And so somewhere within the administration of our programming, Drive the Great River Road Month, coordination with the marketing with the 10 state organization, social media, all those other things, that role of monitoring the CMP, not to mention the whole, if we were to do it again, but monitoring to make sure we're staying on course is a function we would be looking for somewhere.
Yeah, I guess it would also be helpful to be like, so when I was applying for the job and I was looking at the corridor management plan, the first question I had is, okay, this is all your goals. This is what you guys are saying. Where are you at today?
Yeah.
Could not find that information, which would have been very helpful, because it's like, okay, I'm coming into this position trying to, understand my role. But also I think it would be helpful I could see that it would be helpful for the commission to be like, well, this is where we're at today. We need to keep moving forward. How are we going to prioritize the next on that list of priorities that was on, the comprehensive? Because otherwise it's easy to just sort of like, we're just sort of, sitting in the same place, not really making progress forward that maybe we could be making forward on that corridor management plan.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I totally agree. I wonder if we shouldn't dedicate most of one of our meetings to kind of a review of our goals on the plan and seeing where we're at. No outside presentations or committee reports or anything. Just look at that plan.
What? Diane, go ahead, then I'll go.
I would echo that too. I think that the touch point, the touch base on where you are, within the strategic plan, within the corridor management plan, it's a discussion for the commission itself, to determine that then too. It's kind of, this is the governing body of the commission, and that's what it, that's I think a function of it then too. Jessica, right?
Yes.
Okay. I agree, like the iffiness, we were a little bit struggling a little bit when we put this RFI together. Like how will we, what type of duties and how do we get into explaining like specific on the duties, or do we leave it up to finding out what people would be able to do for different services? So I get that, like you said about the regular,
and
is kind of not really nailed down on it. So yeah, it's something we'd struggle with. And that's also why we did this draft, is to bring it to the commission to help us refine this and make it a better tool, which you would like to use for getting, obtaining, understanding of what type of services may be out there, what type of interest may be out there, and what potential cost. Because I think the understanding of this is to have understanding what might be out there for, like, as John said, a cost going to the legislature with, if there's additional cost, if there's something that, if it's within the budget, or if there might be additional cost to go to the legislature.
sometimes just in my experience, we would have contracts or we would do it where it's like, okay, we're gonna meet once a week. And then you maybe, it's like those first times or periods of times, you're like, yeah, we really are meeting once a week. And then there's a slowdown time. You don't need to meet once a week, but it's agreed upon, but then maybe it's like the budget sort of is able to be pushed towards something else. So, or towards a later part. I don't know how much you can move around budgets here, right? Because I'm new to
Yeah,
this,
you
but at the same time, you know, if it's once a week, once every other week, just saying that, and then you could say, and as needed, you know, during specific timeframes of the year, and maybe list out those events. So maybe it's Drive the Great River Road or the month or two leading up to the Great River Road, and highlight some of that. Then they can start to anticipate it and understand what the workload is that the commission is asking of them.
Yeah,
It might be a good way.
I think we can look at Chris's work in part on this, because it was broken out that way, where she, up to a certain number of hours, she was paid a certain amount per hour. And then if she went beyond that, there's a limit on how much she could do beyond that per month, but then it was at a higher rate. And
Yeah.
so it's pretty clear. And so what I'm hearing is that we need to really define the scope more clearly of what we need and what we're looking for in terms of metrics of hours. It's not 5 days a week. We know we can't afford that.
No.
And so maybe it's 2 days, or maybe it's 4 days a month or something is what we need. We need a handle on that. And then something like the comprehensive management plan, we're not going to build in this contract that person would do that and they would just oversee the doing of it.
Right.
They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't be the one responsible for writing it, but we need I want to separate the CMP because it's a separate conversation in part from the base of what we're trying to do right now. It's involved, and we do need to get a sense on, does it need tweaking, as Diane was indicating, that is it just need a tweak, then LCC could maybe help, but if it needs something big, then it's beyond LCC.
Yeah.
So we need to come back to that, Carl, I think on the review it late in the upcoming year.
Well, I would think a review would help us maybe pulling out those pieces, the goals of the plan that we want a contracted person to work on too.
Something else just to add, I think you're right in how you're thinking about how this contract or RFI should be structured. I think the other thing you need to try to be realistic is if you have a bigger project, realize that that's going to take more time than that 8 hours a day. I
Yeah,
mean, it could
flexibility.
larger projects, those could take a couple of weeks or a month of, you know, I mean, 40 hours, 80 hours of time just to do that big project during the year. If it's like travel the Great River Road, sort of that sort of thing, you know? So I guess in addition to thinking how much are they regularly working on it, add in those additional times. So it's like, you know what, we really might need their full 40 hours or a couple of weeks of hours to get that and think about that. So
No, I mean, we got to build that in. I mean, I would say this year, we didn't have that
Yeah,
option and
yeah.
we still got it done.
yeah.
Which means we had to lean on commissioners and volunteers rather than leaning on a paid salary staff. That's part of what we might have to do, but
One approach might be, you know, if we have a base set of tasks that this person would be responsible for, have that as part of the request for information, but then ask for billable rates for other, like special project management or, you know,
yeah.
community
Yeah, that'd be
outreach,
great.
meeting organization, because those come up periodically, but it's not every month or week
Right.
even, you know, because the nice thing is that LCC, we're blessed to have their administration assistants to do the regular meetings and maintain that website administratively. But I just even hourly rates, then you can later on decide how many hours do we think this is actually going to take? So that whoever's going to respond to this, because responding to, you know, these requests takes time. And they're not going to get any billable hours quite back, but we can add, if we keep it simple, I think you'll get the information back.
So this concept of a request for information was a new thing for me, coming from the private sector myself. It's like, this is not an RFP. This is so how does this really work, and who's the audience for this request for information?
I can answer that. So we don't know. I mean, it's be any entities that might be interested in providing that service, you know?
But what's their incentive to answer this?
Their incentive is to establish that relationship, you know, and it potentially could lead to a contract. We have requirements, the LCC has requirements. If it's a contract that's under 25,000, then we don't have to issue an RFP. If it's over 25,000, we do have to issue our RFP. Also too, as a part of a good practice, if it's under, even if it's under 25,000, it's nice to contact at least 3 entities to find out like comparable billable hours and comparable billable rates, you know.
But it doesn't mean less specificity It doesn't need, a request for information should be as specific as an RFP and not, it's not that we're looking at more generalities for a request for information. It should be just as specific as it would be for an RFP.
It's up to this group. When we're putting together this RFI, we kind of, I've got to say, like Andrew and I kind of struggled with that. Like, do we put in specific hours? Do we not? Do we put in like how much? And Andrew did some consulting then with the different commission members he can speak to then too.
Right,
so,
right,
so I think it's this for this group to decide what you guys would like to do, what the commission members would like to do on this.
Yeah, I would say let's start with what Chris's contract had in it. With those hours that she had and with the parameters she put in. I think we could start with that level. And if it comes in $200,000, then we know where to back off to. But it's the hardest starting point we have. And I think we do need to be specific about, the outreach, marketing, and communications elements of it. And so anybody on this who's got a marketing communications background on this call, have a look at that RFP and provide comments to the LCC. And so Andrew and Diane, so if we get you the more details to put into this as a recommendation, can you then take this forward? Okay, so Diane's nodding yes over there. That would be awesome. I just want one clarification that I wasn't sure, Andrew, I was hearing you right at one point. Is there an issue of what the commission can do with this position from the LCC's legislative requirements and parameters? I mean, there's no restriction on how we do this. We can still hire someone and do what we want them to do. Essentially,
That's where we've had some internal meetings with the LPC. And Diane can help with this, where some discussions internally with Michelle as the director of the LCC as well, on where to go now, especially now that Chris is no longer here and having been here for 15 years, there's a level of work she did that was completely appropriate with what she was doing. Kind of taking a blank slate is the wrong way to phrase it, but looking at it from a completely new point of view now, there is activities that as a commission administratively housed within a legislative agency that we would need to take a second look at in terms of what is appropriate for being run. Not that anything here is inappropriate, but as a what is a tourism board essentially being housed inside a nonpartisan legislative agency, where is that level of work?
I think Andrew's trying to get around speaking about the appropriateness of this as a governing body. And I think we kind of got a little complacent. And Chris was doing a great job, but I think that it kind of got led a bit more from Chris and Odyssey than coming back. This should be the governing body on as far as this group. And so we'd like to kind of get to that scope again. Does it require some more activity from this body? Yeah, unfortunately, sorry. Yeah. So this is a commission. It's not advisory. It's a commission then too.
Right. And so, I mean, I was looking at the current legislation for the commission, and you know, it authorized us to hire someone half-time or full-time to do the work of the commission, which is to protect, preserve, enhance, interpret, promote the Great River Road. So as long as we're within the scope of the mission of this organization, we're good.
Yeah.
And so if there's an arena where you think we push beyond a gray area, let us know that.
Yeah.
And let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
And then we can move ahead
Yeah.
with the rest of it.
This has been a bit of an eye-opening experience for both me too. I mean, I no complaints with Chris, no complaints at all, but I kind of let that Chris do a lot of the work, and she did it wonderfully and beautifully, and I have nothing but the great admiration of it. Should have been some things that would have been more directed from the commission, maybe, you know, and if I had to do that over, I might have like stepped in a little bit earlier.
If you can detail that for us, so just put it in
It's-
writing,
it's-
just so we get a better understanding.
I
That'd
would,
be great.
yeah, it's a general work of independent work without much direction from this governing body, where if it's a lot of coordinating projects and overseeing projects, whatever they are. We could list small projects or big projects, taking them on without much direction from the governing body, which is right now a legislative commission. It is a commission housed inside the LCC. That's where it would probably be less going forward. It would be less doable from our point of view. We really need some oversight and direction from this group. Clear direction.
Well, let us know where that is, and and we'll give it to you.
Yeah. Sometimes it's, John, I'm gonna say, Chair, it's difficult to say sometimes. It's like, you know, touch it, feel it, you know it, you know, that type of thing. And it's
That's why I'm
sometimes
struggling
difficult.
to understand exactly what it is. So, so
Sure.
put it to us in black and white, and
Me too. I never felt Chris went off on her own.
no, I understand you're wrestling with something that we're wrestling with. There's a nuance here, and I'm trying to get at that, but we got time. Go ahead.
Is part of the hesitancy on the part of the LCC, sort of that conceptual, you guys, the LCC are the legislative branch. And the executive branch is MnDOT, DNR, that's the operating entity for the state. And LCC
That is, sorry.
the legislature is the policymaking body. And sometimes you guys catch the orphans of, sorry, but the things that legislators are saying, well, where should this go? We'll have the LCC do it because they do good work, and that's the reward for doing good work.
That's why we have
But you
35
guys are kind of bound by, you're part of the legislative branch, and there's some stuff that you can't do. And that's a little different from a contractor maybe working with good initiative. In some cases, that's a good thing. But I think that's part of the nuance that I'm trying to wrap my head around too.
David, you're exactly right. You phrased it much better than I've used that phrasing with Diane like months ago, and it just wasn't in my head then. But it is if you're executive branch work being done, work that an executive branch office might be doing, being done inside a legislative branch office is tricky.
So if I could just ask a question or something that helps me work with the Parkway Commission, because we are one agency of 5. We have 2 House, 2 Senate members, and then 5 citizens and an at-large. So it's a lot of balancing, as every day is for any of our agencies. But I think one of the unique aspects, and what I would recommend as we're writing out this request for information, is really emphasizing that we have 5 state agencies that do completely different things. But this commission and their executive director help serve our needs they smooth it out. They're the ones that help leverage these partnerships and cooperative projects and funding either directly or, supporting applications for funding. And I think it is difficult to wrap your head around 5 very different agencies working so tightly together with very little time. We don't put a lot of time in this, but we get great value out of it. So I think that is really that's where the executive director helps keep the flow. They're the gears, they're the fluid. They just keep it all going together because we've been doing this for decades pretty well. But it is different. It's unlike any other commission you have too, I've heard. But so I think that there is some need for this staff person to have some autonomy, but I think Chris did like Carl said, an executive level job of hearing our direction and then helping make it happen. So, yeah.
Reporting to us.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm going to add as a communications professional is that communications direction from a group is a mess, and there needs to be a center force. It's all well and good that when you've got a brand, when you've got an image that you're promoting, you can't have one person with their perspective over here promote this particular thing, and then another commissioner from over here take that volunteer role on this particular year and do something different with it. There has to be I'm going to use the term again, a pilot that actually guides the use and the work of those individuals who are those commissioners and the departments and the technical people. And so that there's that hub that has to be filled somewhere. And from a communication standpoint, it needs to be consistent, and that guidance has to be consistent year in and year out for at least a good 3 years.
So I think we got a good direction. This has been a great conversation. It's interesting and exciting in a way to think of these new directions and kind of have to shake things up a bit from the way we've done them before. But I think you guys, LCC has some direction where we want to go, and you can take what we need. If you need more, let me know, or let Ann or one of the other commissioners know. Sally.
Hi. Yep, Sally Fine. As we talk about this, and we've talked about it, and I think that, the world is changing too as a planner. I'm a planner as well. And one of the things that I find the most interesting thing is the world is changing very, very fast with AI. I'm impressed, but I'm also disgusted because it's ugly. The backside of AI is really ugly, but it's changing our world. Everybody it's the amount of time that it used to take to do a feasibility study is like that today, because the information is just, you tell it, here's what I want, it'll give it to you. So I think that's something that, when we talk about the amount of work that we're going to put in here and what's going to happen, that's something that we should consider and know, because, it is a piece of our world and we are all moving into it. And it's not what it used to be. Research wasn't that easy at all. And collaboration wasn't that easy as well. So I think, that this commission, I'm very happy to be here because, I'm concerned about the Mississippi River. I live and breathe it up in northern Minnesota. So I think when we think about, some of the things that we talked about today, but also, to know that our world is changing fast, and we're going to use everything that we can, because that's how we are. We're human. We like it, but we don't. We like it, but we don't. But, just going to say that.
So maybe that's one of the things that should be in there, is a skill set around new technologies and the adaption or the use of that, and the willingness to do that.
Yeah.
John, can I just ask for some clarification? Okay, are you looking for a marketing person, or are you looking for more administration?
My understanding is we're looking for someone who can do marketing, communications, and outreach. That is the biggest piece, and also be the coordinator of the cats, rather than the herder, but pulling everything together, seeing the big picture and keeping us organized and on track. If there was a president, be the chief of staff kind of position. We need that. I see LCC doing its work of the fundamental, work that you are prescribed to do to help out commissions. And you need to define where that, you've been defining somewhat where that line is already. But where the line is, you can't do it. And we need someone really proactive to do it. That's where we divide it, in my mind.
I think for us, for working through this, if you want us to work through this RFI, have a quality document, I think we're gonna need some, a couple members being willing to represent what the commission wants out of it.
Well, I'd be happy to be one of those people.
I'm happy to do that too. Maybe,
Okay.
And since she's
Lisa,
happy to one, I don't know if again, I think some of our marketing people,
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, but you can't see me 'cause you're not in the room.
I've done marketing stuff, so
Oh,
if you want
oh.
someone just to look.
Oh, Jessica, you're willing to help?
I
That's
like,
awesome.
I can look over some things for you
Okay.
guys,
that'd be
so,
great.
Great.
yeah.
That would be great.
Jessica Cartwright, if you haven't all met her, and she's replaced Peter from MinDOT and
Yeah.
is got a great background. So we got 3 people already, so
Okay.
we'll start there, okay? And so maybe for the next meeting, we'll have something, well, before the next meeting, a little bit. Somewhere in between. Okay, super. Let's move on to the next items on the agenda. And can you give us a budget update? Commission business. We have to change that?
Oh, yeah. Is that what?
Yeah, we're-
I see. That's overall.
I was just playing on the fact that what is commission business versus what
Okay.
isn't commission business.
Okay, so, this we don't need. You have, I believe, a budget in your,
2 of them.
2 of them. You have one that, and now I'm not finding mine,
26.
but, one that was 20,
There's the one that's
26.
One for
Just the
27.
2 of them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
18, okay.
it's the one that's in August. Does that go up through the year end as expenses came in after?
Yeah, so there's
Final.
fiscal year 26.
Okay,
That's July 1st, 25 through June 30th of 26. And the other one's fiscal year 27 just started.
so the difference is that in the spent column,
Yeah.
in the 26, 27, we have, which we have going forward, which is our, what we're gonna be, what we have to work with, I should say, going forward. You can see that there, we have some overages from certain categories. One of them is in the general material and meeting supplies, I believe, printing and supplies. We're going to be able to carry forward some monies, and we haven't spent. I had all this
I'd be
organized.
happy to help through.
Would you?
that. Sure.
Diane, that'd be
So
great.
the fiscal year 26 ended on June 30th, and we have, with the state of Minnesota, a hard close. So might have transactions, invoices, whatever. And then the hard close comes up, and it was just this past weekend. So at that point, we know what has been unspent from 26 that can roll into 27. 27, so the 26 is just, I don't know. I mean, it just shows you like there's 22,000 and some change that was unspent from fiscal year 26 that rolls into 27. We're into the second year of a biennium, 2 years biennium. So the first year rolls into the second year in the unspent fund. After the second year, then it rolls into a special carry forward funds within the LCC itself. So it gets a little bit different. So, but the 27 starts with an initial allotment of 78,000 that shows the roll forward of the 26 to 27 of 22,000. So it's a budget for 27 over a little over 100,000 right now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
And the place where we rolled forward, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Diane, do we have, is that in the communications column or row and the general printing and supplies row is where we've picked up close to $10,000. So that moves forward. But otherwise, what we've done is we've saved a lot of money this year that we're able to roll forward because it's this kind of year. It
Yeah,
just is this kind of year.
Yeah, a lot of it came from the anticipated cost from technical advisory. We were budgeting a bit additional cost for perhaps we had with the Odyssey contract if after when was it? November, I think after October 31st, if we had some additional consulting work that was needed, it was an hourly by hourly basis on it. So that's where a lot of it was not, where the savings came from, if that's helpful for you then too.
So is that all clear to everyone and on the call as well? Because this leads into the conversation that's on the agenda, the maps discussion. We reprinted, if we can go ahead with that.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I'm kind of looking at these two documents together. And there are some items in the FY 26 budget and the second to the right column, remaining unspent budget that total up to 26,000. And then looking at the 27 budget in the second from the left, third from the left column projected. Did someone, maybe the executive committee or, staff plus someone, the 22,000 is remaining from 6 or 7 different categories, but they're in 3 categories in the FY 27 budget. So
Question.
were they re-budgeted by?
That was probably my error on that one. I probably did some consensus on it and summarization of it.
Okay. The one thing that kind of jumped out at me was we underspent on the national meeting category, but that stayed relatively constant for FY 27. So it didn't totally carry forward under that category. You guys looked at, okay, we spent about X, so we'll budget about the same for next time. So the carry forward didn't go in the same category.
Yeah, so for the I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Didn't mean to speak for you.
Go ahead.
So for the national meeting, yeah, we back in 26, we there was budget 11,200. The actual expense amount was 3,000, little over 3,000. So the 8,000 some change was the remainder on that one. So for this year, for fiscal year 27, so it'd be the annual meeting for this upcoming one. There was some interest, we set out a projected budget, but we can change that how the commission would like to do. But our initial projections or our initial budgeting was based upon the expression that this is kind of a great meeting if we can have more people attend, that type of thing then too. Right now, I think that the travel request is for 3. So, and this is a busy year for our legislative members, so difficult for them to participate election year. But I think, potentially there's some additional funds for, folks to travel, depending on the priorities that the commission decides.
Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Gonna move the maps.
Can we move to the map?
Yeah.
Move to the map.
We don't need to approve this. There's no approval at this level, so we don't need to take a vote on that.
In terms of the budget.
Yeah, in terms of the budget.
But the next commission business issue, and it's tied to the budget and it's tied to this carry forward, is that we have, it might be to our advantage to reprint the maps. They were reprinted in 2025. If we stick with our concept and stick with the design that we have, there will need to be some corrections. There will need to be some updated information, particularly the contact information. But we could have enough money, and what we're doing is basing this off of what it cost in 2025, which is probably not realistic. But we'd be close to what we need in order to reprint the maps in 2026. I think Andrew can attest to, we had a eye-popping request from one of the welcome centers that would have wiped us out had we been able to respond to it. But I don't know that, and we won't know until we put an RFP out. We won't know how many we really can print, but we don't have a lot of graphics changes that we have to make. And we could stick with the same design, which incidentally emphasizes our interpretive centers. Is a big boon to our interpretive centers. And so one of the things I would like to move is that we take this overage that we have for this particular year and consider reprinting these maps in however it works out, in whatever volume it works out to be. And I think you have some printers that you can do. And I would also add that we are hoping that we can get into that RFP, that they would do storage, and I think we'd still have to be doing the distribution. Am I right?
The
Respond.
I can go through the numbers.
Okay.
Of the previous map order. I think we could, if it's a larger order than what we did, or if it involves storage for sure.
Yeah.
I think because we don't have the storage spaces is the thing. So they would need to do storage. The previous map order, May 2025, the numbers we pulled were an order of 29,000 maps and a cost of $10,213. And we got quotes from this printer we used. So that was the previous order in May 25. I don't think they did any storage in that order. I think it was all just direct shipment to centers.
Okay.
But we certainly, if we go over 30,000, if it's something like that, and we want a large storage someplace, not here, we could work that into an RFP. Yeah.
So we're looking at a reprint hand in the range of 29,000, 30,000. And do you want to put a cost on, you're recommending a cost overage, but should we say a certain amount, 15,000 max, or do we put a max number on it?
I think we only have somewhere in the range of, we could juggle some numbers from some other places where we've saved actually within the year's budget. Did you, Jessica?
Yeah. So one of the things when Carol and I, we were traveling, as we had sort of mentioned earlier today, we did talk to the different interpretive centers, and I don't know, Andrew, we were letting them know that you're going to be reaching out to them about the maps, but a lot of them, they were needing maps, particularly Itasca State Park. Yes, so it's probably the one with the really big. But the other one to consider, I guess, printing, which I don't know if the commission has, is reprinting the 10 state map. When we were talking with the Itasca State Park, they were saying, I don't know that it necessarily needs to be all of the interpretive centers were needing that one, but a lot of people are starting at Itasca and they're making their way down. So they would like to have the 10 state, and they have just a few left, and they don't give them out really. I got one, but it probably took away a 10th of what they had. Yeah, I was, but the thing was, I had never seen the map though either. It was the first time I had come across it. And so, yeah, it is beneficial to people is what they're saying. People are asking for it. What Carol and I were told when we were there is that it was printed in the past, and then at some point we don't have the budget to reprint this particular one. So it hasn't been reprinted since then.
It's not on
Yeah.
Minnesota to print it. It's on the national office to print that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's on
And
the
so-
back.
And the
of it said
national office probably has a bunch of maps that they
Yes,
can
they
give out.
probably do.
So we just
Okay.
need to send a request to Suzanne for how many maps
Okay.
do we need of the national office. If she says
We kept
no,
the contact
that will then kick
We did, yeah.
it into the national office needs to print more maps.
Okay, because
And they do. We've talked about it for
Okay.
at least the last year, where we've been
Okay,
kicking it down the road, hoping we would get more money.
yes.
We would get
No.
more money for exactly that reason, but there are more.
There
There's
are
more maps. It's different
Okay.
state. Usually what they send out is a certain number to each state, I think.
That's right.
And then once you've used up your allotment, you have to request more.
Okay.
But again, we
okay.
need that to spur a national reprinting.
But we can request them. And so telling the interpretive centers, and Andrew, that's something in connection with this map thing, finding out from them if they need more of the 10 states, we can get them from the national and then we can send them.
Yeah, so Andrew, maybe when you're reaching out and asking how many maps and stuff people need, because as I think I just said, we did tell people that you would be reaching out to them to try and get numbers and trying to urge them to respond to you, maybe bring up the 10 state map.
Yeah.
I guess I assumed it was us or the Parkway Commission because on the back of the map says the Minnesota, it had the Parkway Commission. So that's why I was confused there.
And so
Mhm.
each state
Yep.
has one.
Yeah.
But,
Andrew,
okay.
if you could
Yeah.
ask for how many Minnesota maps they need and how many national maps they need, and it would be good to, do we have a year in, year out estimate on what we give to each IC?
Yes, we.
So we have that
Yeah, we have that.
somewhere.
But I
was
do
some
know
question.
that Itasca typically does ask us for more every year, both the 10 state and the ours. So that's very normal for them to come in midsummer and have.
And
Actually, we should up their
for
number.
the contact information, the
Yeah.
staff does change, although this gal says she's been at Itasca for a long time, but we can say who directly we spoke to as
Yep.
well.
Mr. Chair, this is Grant.
Yeah.
It's just, I think we can, in DNR, we can connect with our parks and trails or our parks managers who are on the River Road and get a better sense for volume. So that's something that we can do.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Thanks, Grant, for offering that.
Mhm.
Historical Society, maybe you can get a sense too, in addition to what Andrew's doing, but
Yeah.
all of our ICs, we'll send Kate over to over to the Minnesota Marine Art Museum and Winona County Historical Society.
We ran into Kate at the art museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ann, what's, we have an estimate of 29,000. What's the budget we're asking for? Limit, let's say.
Oh, let's say not to exceed 12,000.
Okay, so not to,
I'm just-
so if you're looking for us to approve, say go, let's put a number on it.
And if it exceeds 12,000, I want to, I think you, Jessica, you're the one that made the point. Sometimes you get a good printer who will do some juggling for you
Mhm.
and they'll be just slightly over. So I want to leave wiggle room in there if we can to negotiate with a good printer.
Mhm.
Okay, not to exceed 12,000 without further conversation.
Right, there you go.
Diane,
What we've asked before with bids to different printers, because it was under the 25,000. So we could go out with kind of like that easier process and request for proposals. That one, we went out with like certain levels. Okay, how much at 5,000 for,
Right.
and we gave them a list of shipping locations. So they had an average shipping
That's what we
cost.
should
They
do.
could-
Mhm.
Yeah.
How
if-
much for 8,000? How much for 10,000? I mean, so if you want to think about different levels of prints, and that might give you a better indication of.
I'd start at
And
15 or 20.
and when you, just to be specific, when they give that to you, that's not on a per piece basis, that's on a total basis. We want a number that's a total basis, not on a per piece basis.
Mhm.
So that's.
Okay, so we've got this amount set, kind of our strategy to take it. So what's the next step? Who puts, LCC puts that out? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And how is that RFP distributed? Do we have a chance to?
That wouldn't be an RFP. I'm sorry to share. That wouldn't be an RFP. It would be it's an outreach to printers out there that have the capability and interest of doing it and sending a bid. So we'd give them a specs sheet on it, similar to what's been done in the past. So this will be fairly easy to do, and just ask them to respond. Then
Was it possible to get that to a local printer? And
the Ideal printer that we used last year, it's called Ideal Printers. It's within here. It's in St. Paul.
does
And
need
it
to
was
be-
actually on the state contract.
Does it need to be St. Paul?
No.
Are you looking for something in Brainerd?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have interested parties, that might be interested in printers, please.
Yeah, Lakes
Can I ask her
Lakes
now?
Printing.
Like printing. So yeah, if you got suggestions for printers, don't hesitate to send them to Andrew.
And they're very community minded, I'd say, for
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit and good causes. So
That's
There you go.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other commissioners who have that?
XXN, yeah, any commissioners. I don't think we need
And
it.
this one too, though, they might have to do storage so there might be. I mean,
Carl
we
just
should
has
have
to
the
bring them down
quantity.
from Brainerd.
There might be a storage cost.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to clean out your garage.
Yeah.
So we're good on that, Ann? We don't need to take a
Yes.
vote on the commission as a whole for that. We just agreed. It's in the minutes. We know where we're going. Super. Thank you. So I'll make this quick on the Gopher to Badger Power Line project letter. Amanda and Grant, I sent you something on this. So there's a proposal for a new power line crossing in very southeastern Minnesota through the Upper Mississippi National Wildlife and Fish Refuge into Wisconsin. We dealt with this a while back on one that was crossing just below Wabasha, Minnesota. And I drove down to the Minnesota Marine Art Museum and I think I was in and I saw the clear cut underneath those power lines. And so there is it's a short window, but it's a clear window. And if you're on the other side, you can look across the river and see it clearly. But so we've drafted a letter to go to Dairyland Power Company that's from Wisconsin that's behind this. You know, we can't take a strong, we oppose, you can't do this. We're not an environmental organization that can, you know, like Sierra Club or something that can take a strong stand, but we can make them aware of our concerns. We can say, we were established to protect and preserve and enhance this river, especially, you know, one of the the number one intrinsic value we had to be created a National Scenic Byway was scenic. The second one we got for All American Road is historic. And those values could be impacted. So we need to let them know that, and we need to let them know to minimize those impacts. We can cite the Wisconsin letter. Wisconsin sent a letter to them already. The Fish and Wildlife Service, Upper Miss Refuge sent them a letter also stating what their concerns were and pointing out very, very strongly that it is a national fish and wildlife refuge and there's qualities of that refuge that they don't want harmed. My question for DNR was, and maybe MnDOT, have you been asked to comment on this project? And if so, what have your comments been, or are you planning to?
So I can tell you that I don't know what the specific comments are. I think, in fact, I think we're still developing those. I'll also say, you know, we're a regulatory agency that will have components of this. So I think we're going to be relatively cautious in terms of how we sign on to different letters. So I had a question into one of our staff in the division that kind of covers this. So I'll have to get back to you offline to let you know if we have commented already. If we do have something that's publicly shareable, I can certainly do that. But also I just want to get a sense of you know, to what extent we would want to be a party to another signature or another comment letter from.
Yeah, look at our letter, Grant, look at it and share it with your people there and see if you want us to tweak it in a way that you could be associated with it. I think in the Wabasha one, you might have had to recluse yourself from that letter, if I recall.
Yeah, I think so. I think we just want to make sure we're being, you know, we don't want to demonstrate any sense of bias or a decision that has been made ahead of time, which it certainly hasn't, you know, as it pertains to our regulatory responsibilities for that.
Exactly. And if you're going to have a letter, I mean, before we can get your letter before we send our letter, then we could endorse your letter. Whereas you can't maybe endorse ours, but we could endorse your concerns and ask that those be addressed as well. So, you know, go ahead, David.
Is there a time urgency of getting this letter out, deadline?
I couldn't find an exact deadline on it.
Couldn't either. Yeah, I can try to.
It's in a middle of a planning process right now, so I didn't see an exact deadline, but you know, Fish has weighed in on it. Wisconsin's weighed in on it. Wisconsin did something different. You might think about this, Grant, as well, and we should think about it. One of the things that Wisconsin did is they kind of have a little checklist of mitigations they like to see. So if you're going to do this, like down in that area, some vandals burned down a bridge across the river going into the Mississippi. And they're saying, well, if you can do some mitigation for this damage you're going to do to the scenery, help us rebuild that bridge. And so it's like, maybe we should think about some mitigation that we'd like to see that would help the scenic byway, the historic byway, the natural resources. And if they're willing to do mitigation, we could ask for something specific. So I would say to Kate down there in southeastern Minnesota, if you have any, you know, of in southeastern Minnesota that has a little mitigation idea that we could throw in, and maybe that's something we could think about. Okay, and so, well, great. Let me know, Kate, if you have something. We'll finalize. Grant, let me know when you might have a letter if you are, and then I'll find out more specific. I'll email the people at Darrell and Power back next week and say, what's your deadline? And then I'll let you know, and then we can decide when we can get ours in. I believe the executive committee has been given the authority to sign up the letters in the interim. And so Senator Housley can sign off on this letter. I think I signed off on the last Darrell letter for her, but that's the process. So I just want to bring you in the loop on that and get up to date.
So no action needed by this group?
The only action would be is if you have any heartburn with this letter from an agency perspective or a commissioner perspective for your region, or if you think overall, we're going to get more things like this. Cell towers. I know we had one, Sally, up by you, we had to deal with. We can take a general position of saying, here's our mission, here's what we want to protect, please do so. We can't say you can't do it, or we can't get very hard line on it. So I don't think we need any specific approval just yet. Well, but let me ask. I know we already have permission to have executive committee take care of it, so we can just do it that way. We'll do it through the executive committee when the time comes. Okay, I think we're good.
So one thing about this is that, and you have, I think, a copy of a draft letter that was in your materials, but there's two things that happen with this letter. One is that we go on record for the things that we think are important about that. But the other thing is we are making people aware in this community of what the Great River Road is. So it has a dual track purpose. It's not just to raise an issue here, but it's also telling, and you can tell from the copy and the content in the letter that it also informs the local community, whatever local community you're in, that the Great River Road is all these things. It's an all-American road. It's a scenic byway. So it has really two purposes, and that's, I don't want to lose sight of the additional purpose that it has.
Thanks, Ann. Good addition for that. So let me, I'm trying to say where we are in terms of time, 3:15. We're a little bit behind. I'll make these next ones really quick. So the national board meeting, I'll just bring two things up from that real quick, and I don't have I'm waiting for the details from the national office on the final motions. We discussed two things and critical things. And one was that we are an organization that does business that is known formally as the Mississippi River Parkway Commission. But for all the forward-facing things we do, we want to change that to Great River Road. We don't want to be putting on, I mean, people relate to the Great River Road. They don't relate to the Mississippi River Parkway Commission as an entity. So whenever we go public with things, we want to be talking about us as the Great River Road thinks this, or the Great River Road organization does that. So the national board adopted that perspective. I'll get the exact wording to you as soon as I get it. The other thing we adopted was the national office has been approached a number of times by various organizations now. And I can see that coming from our friends with the EV established route along the Great River Road, and you want our logo to go with that. So there's different events that are happening. They want to put our logo on their event. Well, can we charge for that? And how much would we charge for them to use our logo? Everybody else charges. And so it's kind of been hit or miss on that at the national level, but we voted formally at the national level to say, yes, we should be charging for that, depending on whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit and what their use is. So we've defined that at the national level. And this is something I think we should think about at the Minnesota level as well, because I have here, I'll pass it around. This is Wisconsin's policy on using the Wisconsin Great River Road logo. You can apply for it, and there's a certain fee is $100 for a profit rate to be paid to the Wisconsin Mississippi River Parkway Commission. It's $50 for a nonprofit. So we can make a little extra money. Pay for that position we're looking for. So I'll maybe pass this left and just show you. So what do y'all think of us maybe adopting something like the national office is doing and the state of Wisconsin is doing? And can we, Diane's gonna come in with our legal advice.
Yeah.
Can we do so?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Is I'd like to check into it before this voted upon this body, if we can, if we can, ability wise. It would be a revenue source, perhaps.
And we can do
And-
revenue sources according to our law.
We can do gifts and grants. We can do gifts and grants.
We could frame in the terms of a gift of $50.
Yeah.
Well,
That
you
was
can,
kidding.
you can take this thing we're passing around now and just say that we model it on this example.
Yeah, I get that, but yeah.
So you
I'd
just
like
have
to
something
take
to
it
go
back
with.
and look at it, yeah.
So I'm not asking for a formal vote that we do it. I'm just saying, hey, heads up.
Mhm.
You haven't had a lot of requests, Andrew, for using the logo yet, but we could get them in the future. So let's just have something on the record if we can to do that. So that's what the national meeting was about. Communications and marketing. We didn't have many people on that call last time. I think there were like 3-4 people. So we need some work on all our committees. I think the environment, recreation, agriculture committee, we had like 2 people or 3 people last time. It was very small. Culture and Heritage Committee has been good. Transportation's been pretty good. But I'm gonna talk at the national office, at the national meeting in West Memphis about how we reinvigorate our committees down there. If someone else has attended one of those committee meetings, weigh in. I'm happy to hear from you, but I don't think there were many this last time. And then I'll just say that the update on the 2026 meeting in West Memphis, those of you who have not signed up to go, you are going to miss a phenomenal opportunity. You should be guilty and sad all at the same time. Now we're pulling together, the first national meeting of the 184 scenic byways in America, and Great River Road being one of those. And we are going to learn, like I've told people, me working for the National Park Service, it'd be like me never going and visiting another national park or not meeting with other national park superintendents across the country and learning how those national parks work. These are our brothers and sister organizations of byways, and we can learn how they're doing things. And I'm gonna learn, I know I'm gonna learn an immense amount from being at this meeting, to go from Blue Ridge and Natchez Trace to, I found that there's actually a national scenic byway that's 7.5 miles long. So they scan the spectrum in terms of length and what they do and what they're about. So, and I should also mention, get this on your calendar. I've already reached out to our National Scenic Byway Coordinator in Minnesota. Tim Wilcox he used to sit in with us. He's the Scenic Byway Coordinator for Minnesota. September 22nd is National Scenic Byway Day. So it falls within Great River Road Month, which we can emphasize maybe again through another press release that is National Scenic Byway Day. Oh, and by the way, the Great River is the National Scenic Byway, and Drive the Great River Road Month is underway right now. So September 22nd is this is new. This is the first time for National Scenic Byway Day. Any questions about that? National meeting? Regrets?
Jessica has a little bit of update, just
Yeah.
transportation regarding one of the projects they have, and then some.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to go through this quickly. So the past couple of weeks, just so everyone's aware, Carol and I, we've been traveling along the Great River Road. There's been a couple of different things we've been working on, is confirming the signage locations for the Transportation Asset Management System, or called TAMS, visiting the interpretive centers, and then reviewing the current conditions, the interpretive panels. For TAMS observations, we were able to see that our official data set was missing a lot of the signs we have. Even with the secondary data set, we're still missing existing signs that currently exist. Also, being my first time, I would say the route is difficult to follow through some areas, especially up north where there are long sections of no signal. It would be helpful to have more reassurance signs. I also only started to get comfortable driving on the road and like, okay, maybe I could do this the 4th time that we started driving. Like, it took a while, and it was because Carol was saying, okay, expect this, and then there's going to be this. And I kept having that being told to me again and again and again. So it might be something to think of because a lot of people are going to be like me that are going along it the first time. The interpretive centers, so I was able to visit 6 of the 13 interpretive centers so far. Aside from what's already been discussed in this meeting, some of the interpretive centers, I was questioning why it was an interpretive center. It might be worth considering helping connect the dots for people more obviously why the interpretive center is an interpretive center of the Great River Road. And then we also heard from people working at the interpretive centers that they were getting lost on the routes from the headwaters to Bemidji, and we could see why. Carol, who obviously has driven on the road multiple times, got lost because of lack of signage and also lack of and no signal. And then lastly, one of the things I printed off for people is this. So this has some examples of the current conditions of the interpretive panels. This isn't all the pictures I took, but we do have those, and it's associated with geolocated data. But common issues I saw were bowing of boards, chipping, peeling of paint, fiberglass is aging, dirty, different colored frames, unable to read text, issues with foundations. So some of them were leaning in the wind. Some of them, the caulk in the foundations was missing, which would allow water to enter the foundation and could cause foundational issues with the panel down the road. And then there's also accessibility issues. So not enough contrast in colors, maps are too complicated, text is not legible. But these are issues that can be improved. So we're in compliance with section 508, which every organization that receives federal money is required to be in compliance with. And then lastly was brought up at the meeting by Marnie, the last meeting by Marnie, that the commission should consider revising statute 161.045 for the session. And then we've provided necessary documentation that can help the commission prepare the revision documenting that they do serve a transportation purpose as per statute 161.1419, which is also attached.
So explain that to us. What does that do for remedy?
She'll be able to explain it better than I can. So I will let Carol.
I think I know, but I'm curious.
Thank you. So in the packet, in the corridor management plan is a page from the corridor management plan 416, and it shows right now it actually was a previous statute 161.20, and now the number changed. So we have a copy of that 161.045. And what it says in here is it lists several entities, including the Mississippi River Parkway Commission, that does not serve a transportation purpose, and therefore transportation dollars can't be spent on it. And that greatly restricts our ability to charge our time to work on the Great River Road. And that is in partnership with the Parkway Commission. So we did include, so right now the statute currently that Marnie brought up last time, that is in the corridor management plan, the number is 161.045. It's in here. The revision would be just to strike the word Mississippi River Parkway Commission, so that you're no longer on that list. That then would allow us to more to bill our time.
So Carol, is this something that you are sharing directly with Senator Hoffman and Senator Housley, as well as Representative Hilda Mangiani?
No.
Hilsley?
No, and so, we thought that at this meeting that would be something that, Marnie had brought it up at the last meeting, but then we didn't have any follow-up. So, but it's time now for legislation to be considered by this body if they were to go forward in that. And then we did include also 161.1419, which describes the Parkway Commission. And we highlighted those sections of it that do serve a transportation purpose. It's right in the first paragraph.
It is,
Yeah. So we just are providing you with the data in order to consider if the commission wants to revise that statute that currently is saying the commission doesn't serve a transportation purpose.
So we would be we're not lobbying for a change. We're taking a vote on whether we think the change is a good idea.
Well, it's already in.
You're the lobbyist.
Well, so a few different thoughts and questions. It's already in the corridor management plan. So by approving the corridor management plan, we have said as a group previously that we think that this legislation needs to be amended. A question is, a piece of a change to the statute can be carried forward by an agency in their agency. So that's one option. And you guys tell us if that's going to happen through DOT, or the commission could make a statement. I'll look to you guys how that works. Or legislators can introduce bills. They do 5,000 times each session times 2, House and Senate, so they can introduce a bill individually.
Yeah, and so in the past, when we did pass the corridor management plan, because all of the 5 agencies looked at it and were a part of that development, we had, MnDOT had said that it's really the Parkway Commission that's trying to say they serve a transportation purpose. And so we would not propose the change. We would bring it to your attention that it does actually have operational impacts. And if the commission were looking to implement this part of the corridor management plan, that would be on the commission. We then, all of the agencies scrub all the statute or all of the legislation during the session to see what might impact them. We will receive notice to provide comment. We either oppose, remain neutral, or support. And then we discuss different impacts that might have on our agency.
Yeah, so we just had this discussion a while ago about legislative versus executive functions, and I would question whether we could take a position for or against legislation. I doubt we can.
We can offer, if you don't mind, the commission can, look toward wanting to have put forward amendment, but the amendment would have to be authored by a legislative member, of course. The bill would have to be authored by a legislative member.
That's why I'm saying we could go through our legislative members on our commission, Senators Hoffman and Housley, which I think bipartisan coming from the 2 of them would help, as well as our representative. That they should be made aware of this. I wish they were here, but let's get them.
Their willingness to do it.
Their willingness to do it. Just get that and confirm it. Do we as a commission, you've given us the information, we will get that to them and ask them to move forward. Andrew.
I think that process works, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
having bill language. So we're not just saying, go do this. Like if we take bill, that just takes something off the plate. They don't have to work with Senate Council or House Research or something. And
yeah, well, I would, let's go that route where at this commission meeting, MnDOT shared what they're doing with us. You were absent from this meeting. We want to make you aware of it, and commissioners would very much appreciate your support.
And if they're willing to be an author to the bill.
Yes, ask them to-
legislative members.
We have to ask them if they're willing to be authors of this bill in support of the commission, I would say. Okay.
And that insert from
David,
the
any
corridor management plan kind of has language that, because everything's so super brief, right?
Yeah.
But you could potentially look at that for a guide as far as what you would say. Do you want
But we should provide that to them. We don't refer them to that. We provide them that language.
Yeah, I'm just telling them.
Yeah.
So as a part of this, the legislative members would have to present it to the different committees. Typically, the MRPC has not ever gone before the Transportation Committee. That's something MnDOT is much more familiar with. So your legislative liaison probably needs help with carrying forward this for MnDOT. I mean, I would just suggest that. Just our Billy Whack is more underneath the state government, as far as like familiarity and working with committee administrators. So it would need support and guidance from MnDOT on that process then too. The legislative members would have to present then the amendment to the committees. I imagine the first stop on this one would be Department of the Transportation Committees with the House and Senate then too.
Okay. I assume they will know that process very well.
Yeah, and so that's something, work through Marnie to work into that system at the higher level with government relations.
I really appreciate it. You guys taking that on. I looked at that language just yesterday and was like shaking my head. So
I'm happy to look over any documents to write up some sort of preamble if you're doing I don't know if we can't see the who's on the call thing, but I don't know if any of our
Better click
legislators are
on.
on the
No.
call now.
Oh, she's.
Okay. If we're gonna send a note to legislators,
okay,
you got this, but if you want any help, I'm happy to help.
Yeah,
thank you.
you are entirely correct. Like normally with the legislative member, there's a summary that's provided to the legislative member that summarizes the bill and the bill intent. And because they are essentially presenting it to the committees. So to help them. with
And
that
we can,
presentation.
some of us can attend the committee and
Mhm.
sit right behind them.
Yeah.
With our shirts on.
Yeah.
This is off. So Jessica, thank you for bringing that up, and Carol, and also Jessica, thank you for the update on the signage and the issues there. We need to follow up that in another commission meeting or have a special group to take care of that. So
Speaking of
thanks for doing that. Thanks for reaching out to the interpreter centers and
Yeah.
bringing our presence to them. That's always needed. So
Yeah.
thanks for doing that. We're
Thank you.
glad to have you here. And I think we dealt with you under number 8 on the agenda is what
Yeah.
we dealt with already there, right?
Number 8 was interpreted.
So, we always end, one of my friends, the Mississippi River Board meetings, we always end with river talk. And so that's the last thing on the agenda. Any river talk
Well,
thing before we end?
Not river talk, but just back to the national meeting, just FYI for everyone. I looked it up. The early bird rate for the national meeting, hotel and registration is September 6th. So
Thanks, Stephen.
save a couple bucks.
Yeah. And we
Oh,
Yeah, I have a question about Drive the Great River Road Month with the history theme. I'm on Croydon County Historical Society. Is there a way that we can engage?
So I think one of our next steps is there's a weekly newsletter that goes out to county historical societies, e-newsletter called Local History News. And it just is chock full of awesome history nerd information that you should sign up for.
Yes.
Every Wednesday. So I think we were planning to put something about Drive the Great River Road in local history news and let people know about it that way. But we can certainly send the news release out to the county historical societies.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Super. Anybody online that's left with us? Any river talk? Final thoughts?
You should hype your talk on whatever is September 1st.
Oh, October 1st, I'm doing a talk at Mill City Museum on the future of the Mississippi River and the Twin Cities. So you're down here, up here, come on over. October 1st, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, Lynn?
At the Mill City Museum on October 1st, 7 o'clock. So it'll be big crowd, lots of fun. So thank you all. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
David, second.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah. Just 1 second.